Go planet!
By your powers combined, I am
Aristotle.
Captain Planet, he's our hero. Gonna take pollution down to zero. He's our powers magnified, and he's fighting on the planet side.
The power is yours!
Unlocking Aristotle's causes and elements. Welcome to 4D Personality.
Aristotle was an ancient Greek philosopher who contributed significantly to the development of Western society. He was a student of Plato and a teacher to Alexander the Great, and his body of work encompassed a broad variety of topics, ranging from metaphysics, politics, logic, ethics, biology, and more. Aristotle emphasized empirical observation and the study of the natural world, advocating for a systematic approach to knowledge. His work around virtue ethics, the classification of organisms, and the study of reality was influential for centuries, leading to him being one of the most influential figures in Western philosophy. Today, we're going to take a look at specifically the four causes, the elements, and how they relate to human cognition. Causes are the cognitive sequence followed during the creative process. Briefly, Aristotle's four causes refer to a framework for understanding the nature of things, their origins, and how to create stable manifestations. There are four steps in this cognitive sequence from beginning to end. We'll refer to these steps as function, form, force, and finesse.
2D causes, your cognitive sequence. Causes emerge from the combination of 1D flow and 1D action.
Function expands observations. Form optimizes observations. Force expands decisions. Finesse optimizes decisions.
It is the business of the student to know about all. If he refers his problems back to all of them, he will assign the why in the way proper to his science.
The causes can also be integrated from the 3D motors, discussed previously in the Jung video linked below. Form integrates investigation and interpretation. Finesse integrates harmony and accuracy. Function integrates exploration and contemplation. Force integrates authenticity and efficiency. Function observes utility with exploration and contemplation. Form observes nuance with interpretation and investigation. Force decides impactfully with efficiency and authenticity. Finesse decides purposefully with harmony and accuracy.
Function, form, force, finesse. The cognitive sequence.
Function is the first stage in the creative process. It observes the substance or matter from which an object is composed, determining physical properties and characteristics. It perceives the raw material that undergoes transformation or organization to give rise to a particular object. In cognitive terms, this relates to what something is, investigation, and what something could be, contemplation. Roughly 17% of the population leads with function in typical activity.
The matter for the sake of the function.
Form is the second stage in the creative process. It observes specific designs, patterns, or blueprints that give an object identity, ultimately shaping its distinctive characteristics and purpose. It defines the nature and essence of an object, as it represents the ideal template that underlies the physical creations. In cognitive terms, this relates to what could fit, interpretation, and what has previously worked, investigative. Roughly 36% of the population leads with form in typical activity.
The form of things that have within themselves a starting point of movement.
Force is the third stage in the creative process. It decides with the intent of bringing about the transformation of an object. It initiates and drives major changes, representing the dynamic power to transform functions into a particular form. Cognitively, this relates to what works, efficiency, and what's morally right, authenticity. Roughly 24% of the population leads with force in typical activity.
The movement will be in the mover.
Finesse is the fourth and final stage in the creative process. It refers to the ultimate goal, aim, or purpose for which an object exists. Entities possess a final cause, which directs its existence towards a specific outcome. This cause represents the reason why something exists or happens. Cognitively, this relates to what brings things together, harmony, and what's technically correct, accuracy. Roughly 23% of the population leads with finesse in typical activity.
Some do so for the purpose of something, whereas others do not.
When developing anything in life, Aristotle's causes give you the secret to stable creations.
Now, each of these causes should be considered during the creative process. By reviewing and assessing these causes, Aristotle sought to better understand nature's recipe for manifesting stable, lasting creations. Aristotle was also really well known for his work with the elements, widely publicized through Aristotle's physics. Many of you likely know the original four elements of earth, water, air, and fire. And many of you also likely know the modern-day analogs in current physics of solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. There's also Jungian analogs that we'll dive into more now. Elements represent the cognitive interactions between your 3D states. We each have a cognitive light and a cognitive shadow. The light's the parts of yourself you readily embrace, accept, and acknowledge, and the shadow are the parts of yourself you neglect, suppress, and ignore. We each have one element as our light and its opposite as our shadow.
2D elements, your cognitive interactions. Elements emerge from a combination of 1D system and 1D action.
Earth expands the body, air expands the mind, water optimizes the body, fire optimizes the mind.
The underlying idea goes back to the 5th century BC, to the teachings of Hippocrates, that the human body was composed of the 4 elements: air, water, fire, and earth.
Aristotle viewed these elements as emerging from 4 qualities: dry, wet, hot, and cold. These qualities naturally combine in various ways to form the 4 elements. These 4 qualities are the exact same as the 4 causes we just discussed when reviewing the cognitive sequence: dry function, wet form, hot force, cool finesse.
The elements can also be arrived at by the pairing of 2D causes. Water pairs form and finesse, air pairs form and force, earth pairs function and finesse, fire pairs function and force, air observes form and decides with force, water observes form and decides with finesse, fire observes function and decides with force, earth observes function and decides with finesse.
Earth, air, water, fire, the cognitive interactions.
Earth emerges from the combination of function and finesse. Earth cognition prefers solid, tangible matters. It emphasizes stable foundations and physical substance. It involves a mix of function and finesse that results in evolving, supportive behavior. Earth expands solid foundations to achieve steady growth. It is persistent, fertile, and full of potential. Earth embodies solidity by providing firm foundations. It exhibits geological endurance and persists through stress. It nourishes and creates a fertile environment, driving slow, consistent growth. Roughly 14% of the population leads with Earth in typical activity.
It denotes the philosophic earth, as it is firm and solid. Were it not for the earth in our work, the air would fly away, neither would the fire have its nourishment, nor the water its vessel.
Air emerges from the combination of form and force. Air cognition prefers moving, dynamic communications. It emphasizes constant motion and deliberate action. It involves a mix of form and force that results in triumphant, clashing behavior. Air expands moving expressions to achieve communication. It's active, circulating, and moving. Air embodies activity by providing moving expressions. It exhibits dynamic clashing movement and triumphs over challenges. It actively facilitates communication to ensure powerful comprehension. It creates expansive networks, and it boundlessly pursues goals. Roughly 33% of the population leads with air in typical activity.
The texts often use the terms pneuma in the original concrete sense of air in motion.
Water emerges from the combination of form and finesse. Water cognition prefers fluid, smooth relations. It emphasizes steady and natural flowing around obstacles. It involves a mix of form and finesse that results in guiding, charming behavior. Water optimizes fluid relations to achieve cohesion. It's purifying, cleansing, and vivifying. Water embodies fluidity by providing cohesive relations. It exhibits brimming patience and guides around obstacles. It dissolves buildup, cleans away clutter, and provides vitalizing refreshment and cohesion. Roughly 31% of the population leads with water in typical activity.
Water is extolled as vivifying, besides which it has the property of dissolving and coagulating.
Fire emerges from the combination of function and force. Fire cognition prefers temperate, illuminating passions. It emphasizes vital force and an invigorating spark. It involves a mix of function and force that results in discovering, ruling behavior. Fire optimizes temperate drive to achieve passions. It's ambitious, combustive, and illuminating. Fire embodies ambition by igniting passions. It exhibits illuminating discovery and purifying heat. It catalyzes and fuels pursuits. It sheds light on knowledge, and it sparks passion. Roughly 22% of the population leads with fire in typical activity.
Fire means passion, affects, desires, and the emotional driving forces of human nature in general.
Each of us owns two of these causes, which combine to form one overall elemental preference. Each element has its own signatures, characteristics, and traits. We comfortably own the qualities of our light element, and we are attracted to the outsourced qualities of our shadow element. To recap, Aristotle contributed immeasurably to the development of Western culture, society, and psychology. Specifically, his work around the four causes and the elements was instrumental to increasing our own self-understanding. These 2D cognition modes help us better appreciate our own cognitive light and shadow, and how the interplay between the two result in stable manifestations. Thank you for joining me in 4D Personality.